Good morning, dear colleagues. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be talking to you. And since the topic of our discussion is quite important and we are pressed for time, I would like you, and I would greatly appreciate if you could give your feedback by writing your comments or maybe asking questions or something. So let's go on. Today we're going to talk about the competence approach in language teaching, and this is something that is really very important, and this is the key issue of the modern education today. But first, let us ask the question: what's the difference between the traditional one and the competence approach? Let's have a look at the table. Basically, I would state that the main difference between the two approaches that were accepted, used to be accepted in our teaching, and the concept that is being taught now is the main result. That is the question, I know what versus I know how. This is very important because for us language teachers, I think that we are probably the ones who definitely did this in all the times, because compared to, say, teachers of maths or physics or chemistry, we did something practically because we strived for practical outcome from our students, and that is why I believe that it will be a little bit easier for us to accept it and to go on with it. So let's have a look at the basic competences. First, the outlook of the world, the general outlook of the world, the place of a person in the world, the idea of understanding themselves in the world, where they are, who they are, and what they have to do for that. And this is very important because here we have to be able to choose our goals and to make decisions. This is something, as all the competencies are interrelated, I would state that they affect each other greatly. In this respect, making decisions and choosing the goals, I believe, is something which is very important, maybe most important. The general culture is something that we have to teach our students because it is something that they have to be able to compare. They have to be able to analyze, comparing the cultures that they live in and the cultures which they study, because they have different values, they have different outcomes, they have different sets of spiritual, moral stuff that probably we do not understand, as well as we do have something that they may not understand. This is why it is very important for us to be able to exchange, because the basic reason for that is to provide cultural exchange between different cultures. Something that we are definitely about to start with is learning and cognitive competences, because it is something that we work for, to teach our students how to learn. And it is not our responsibility to give them the information, but it is our responsibility to teach them how to acquire the information, how to get information themselves. And for this, we can see that it is something interrelated with the basic one, where the value competence, the setting the goals, and for that you have first to set the goals, then you have to plan your actions, then you have to analyze what you have done and reflect on what you have done, and then assess yourself about how well you have done that. And then this refers to some functional literacy, because it is very difficult nowadays to understand, to tell the facts from fiction, truth from lies, and this stuff. This is why I believe this is something that we have to work with. Information competence is something that is perceived very narrowly now because it is believed only to be connected with computers and networks and this stuff. But anyway, it is the ability to work with whatever information students receive for further practice. And this is the information search first of all, because nowadays, since we have, since we look at the process of teaching as the process of giving them the directions of how to learn themselves, first of all, they have to be able to learn and find the information. And the information is something that is very, very vast nowadays. You know, tons of information on the internet, and it is very difficult to understand which information is reliable, which is not. That is why we have first to find the information, then we have to analyze it. If the information is the one that we need, then we have to select the information that we need for our great particular goal. Organize it properly so that it will be easier to work with. Then we must be able to transform the information the way it will be easier for us to use or easier for someone to use. Because next is furthering information, the information that we do not necessarily use ourselves, but we prepare it for someone else. And saving information, so keeping it stored somewhere. Next, we have to talk about the communicative competence, and that is something, the key idea that's been in practice for about maybe 30 years. The communicative competence and the communicative approach is something that we as language teachers know best. And in this respect, of course, the 4 basic skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, this is what we normally do every day. The interaction skills that we practice in pairs, groups, and in class activities. And this refers not necessarily just classwork, but maybe work out of class, when students communicate with people representing different cultures, with people talking a little bit differently that they are used to listen to and used to hear to, and the people that share different values. So this is something including some cross-cultural exchange. And this necessarily develops the skills of group work and teamwork, which will be very important for them when they go on in their future adult life. And one more thing about that is that while people work in a group, they assign different social roles for themselves, or they are assigned those roles. And they have to be able to carry out those roles, to adjust to those roles, and to behave exactly in the way they're supposed to according to the roles. This is everything that we can do at our language classes. Social competence refers to the skills of positioning oneself in a society. And that means that every day we carry out some specific roles. In a classroom, we carry out the roles of students and teachers. And in a group, students carry out the roles of the roles that are assigned to them. But outside the class, we are members of the family, we are customers, we are citizens, we are observers or representatives of something. We are consumers and manufacturers. And that is why, how can we help that? We can, by doing the group and team activities in our classroom where we simulate the situations, real life situations, that will be very, I wouldn't say very easy, I would say it will be easier for us to prepare them for their future life and for taking the roles in actual society. And the last one, but not least, of course, is self-perfection competence, because that is something that they have to be to understand, that they will have to be with this for all their life, and that the learning does not end with the end of school or university or college or academy or whatever. And this is something that we have to provoke in them, the idea of learning, of constant learning, of mastering their skills, of whatever, physical, intellectual, spiritual development, being able to regulate themselves emotionally, and that is the idea which works best when working in various groups, teams, or something, in mixed groups, maybe where the students of mixed abilities are united in a joint group and they have to perform some activities together. The next one we're going to talk about, because we're pressed for time, please have a look. We believe that the most efficient approach in this is referring to students' personal background, well, their personality. We must appeal to their personalities first, otherwise we won't be successful. And we have to elicit their opinions, we have to elicit their values and beliefs, and what's more, we have to respect both opinions and beliefs, even if they do not correspond to what we personally believe as teachers. That is why, only in that case, actually, we can elicit something from our students. We can have them talk. We can have them express their opinion, share their opinion, discuss their opinion, and maybe correct their opinion if it's necessary. How can we do that? Through comparing. Best way. You know, I was impressed very greatly, maybe a lot of you know this, that I found out the different methods, the different ways that our people and English-speaking people refer to the sizes. And that was the size of Ukraine. You know, we all have topics, like the area of Ukraine is 603,000 square kilometers, blah, 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 and this stuff. And when I first saw the description of the territory of Ukraine given by Americans, it was slightly smaller than Texas. And the British said it was slightly bigger than France. You see, what is the difference? When we give something, some figures, some numbers, some of them are very hard to perceive, because nobody can imagine 600,000 square kilometers. Even 1 square kilometer is hard to imagine. But when we can compare something with something we know, that is much easier to understand, to perceive what it is. And that is why we compare. So whatever we can compare, especially if we talk about different cultures, we have to compare what's happening there, what's happening here, and understand the difference, and try to not only understand, but comprehend the difference. And the same goes with contrasting. Next goes analyzing, because we have to analyze the information that we achieve and that we get to understand the difference, to compare and contrast. And we have to be able to support our opinion or to reject some other's opinion, and to reason to give the grounds for that, to reason our statements. And that implies very difficult work. It implies some search for information, because it's not necessarily enough to say, I don't believe you or I disagree with you. You have to prove why it is so. This is something that we try to do by providing our textbook for the 8th grade students this year. It is based on developing critical skills, critical thinking, because it is something that is the key issue of everything. If you are able to look at the things critically, then you will be able to compare, to contrast, to give your opinion if you don't agree with something, or to support something if you agree with it. And we gave that comparing the lives, the typical life situations of British and Ukrainian teenagers in a very simple, very, I would say, everyday life situations. The language, one of the key issues of the whole process of teaching the language is that the language is not only the aim of teaching, but the means of teaching and the means of achieving the aims of communication, because language is for communication. That's it, period. For this purpose, mainly pair and group activities are used in the book. And the teamwork, as well as the student, is the subject, not the object of studies, not the object of teaching. It is, the student is the subject of learning. And we made an emphasis, we put an emphasis on the idea that even if a student's opinion is different from yours, it is not the reason for us to say he is wrong or she is wrong. The idea is to let students express their opinion. Now let's have a look at a sample page, and then a little bit later we'll try to figure out how it works. As you can see, this is one lesson that is designed to be covered in 45 minutes. It has basically 3 stages: the warm-up stage, the main part of the lesson where the material is processed, and the suggested home assignment, what we believe should be done at home. And as you can see, the topic is school. And next, I would like you to have a look at this picture. What ideas can we elicit from our students? How could we work with a single picture? How could we provoke their activity? How could we provoke their interest? And how could we develop their competences in this respect? First of all, let's have a look. If we imagine that we are in the classroom and we put a question like this, these guys in the picture are definitely school-age children. So where can that be? And probably they will be answering you, that is a school, schoolyard, or something. Why boys? Probably because it's a school for boys. And here we come to the idea of comparing the cultures. Do we have schools for boys only or for girls only? And in this respect, that was the home assignment, because the students were supposed to find the differences between the 3 types of schools in Britain, and they will be probably ready to answer. This is a special type of school. It's a boarding school for boys, and it is a private school. The next question may appear, why clothes? So actually, when we work with that starting with clothes. Why boys wear such unusual clothes? And the answers were very different, but the question is, we believe it is interesting, it is provocative, and it is, finally, it can lead to the idea that the clothes are something that symbolizes belonging to a certain community or certain class. And here we can go further and find out that the British society is a very class society and the stuff. And that those people are normally representatives of the higher society, of the higher class that will probably be ruling Britain in a few years. And some more questions, because you could probably see, we'll get back to that, that there were 3 types of schools described, 3 types of students, practically the same age, but dressed very differently, and something looks very formal, something looks very informal, and that makes them think, our students think the idea, why? So the key question everywhere should be why. Because answering this question, they have to make their brains think, make their ideas, elicit their ideas from each other when working in groups or pairs or teams, and share the ideas and express the ideas in the class and be able to defend their ideas. Isn't that good? Well, so here you can see the three pictures. What were the competences used? First, they were looking for information because the home task was to find the types of schools. And they have to find information, to analyze information, to organize information, and to make a conclusion that the guys in the upper picture, they most probably are students of a private school. The guys in the left bottom picture are probably the students of grammar school because they are wearing uniforms. And the students in the right bottom picture are probably the students of a comprehensive school because they are very freely dressed. So, and while they're discussing that, they develop their communicative competence, and they compare, because they compare the cultures, they compare their school, they compare the schools they see, the kids they see, and that is why they infer something, they understand something about the culture. So that is sociocultural or culture-specific language competence. The next one refers to comparing the two, definitely comparison between the two types of cultures. Yeah, and here we have three probable exchange students, and we have to assign the properties of a certain type of school to the exchange students that are given, the information given in the textbook. And that means that they have to work out their and use their abilities to analyze the information, to make conclusions, and to make some cross-cultural analysis, as well as develop their communicative skills, because they have to discuss that, and the skills of reading, about scanning for information. This is something that we know all our students are not very good at proper types of at identifying the types of reading, because they try to read the whole text from the first letter to the last one without understanding it completely, whereas when they are definitely not assigned that. So the scanning skills are are developed here. Here they have to make their inferences and conclusions. If you do that, what will happen? If you are an exchange student, what will you do? What will you have to do? And the cross-cultural analysis and the communicative skills are developed here as well. As you can see, it is all in one lesson. And basically, there is nothing like standard questions and answers. There is something that we try to do something that would provoke students' discussion, that were interesting in discussion themselves, to discuss, to find the reasons, to find the differences, to find similar pictures. Then something that is about listening, developing language skill, and at the same time, here the text goes about the girl who is home educated, and this is something that will maybe be different from Ukraine, and that will be quite unfamiliar for our students, that quite a lot of British students are taught at home. What is it? Is it better? Is it worse? How do they get assessed by their teachers? What is it? And all that, they will have to listen for specific information by looking at the questions. And again, general culture, comparing, contrasting, analysis. They will have to, finally, they will have to come up with their ideas about if the systems of education provided in the lesson are useful for Ukraine. Would they be, personally, would they like those systems of education to be introduced in Ukraine and why. And this is something that we're talking about, their personal opinions, their personal values, beliefs, their personal experience. The next one is reading, and again, a famous character, and again, a very different type of schooling, that is tutoring, and why it was done so, and again, inferences. We have some information, we read for details, and we have to answer the questions, and we have to make some inferences about what is not said, but what is implied. And again, analysis and synthesis. So these are the two things that we strongly believe are absolutely necessary to teach, to be able to analyze and then to be able to synthesize. And the home assignment, the suggested home assignment, will be about comparing if the students would like or would not like to have homeschooling and tutoring as their basic part of a school system. If yes, why or why not? And they have to provide their reasons, and that is creative writing, the idea of analyzing and synthesizing with the idea of some practical advice, if I may say so. Why they should, why they would like to learn like that, they personally. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write to us at the email that you can see or call us. Please feel free to subscribe to our magazine, that is English Language and Literature, and order the books if you would like to. We have a nice set of books to suggest. It was very nice talking to you. One more time, I saw there were a lot of people, and I really appreciate that. That was great talking to that great number of people, of outstanding teachers from all over the country. Thanks for your attention. Bye.